It's Raimi, and today I wanted to do a little September wrap-up slash fall hopefuls. I don't think I'm going to do a full-on like October TBR just because there are so many fall books that I want to get to that I'm so excited to read over the month of October and even into November. I like the term hopefuls a little bit better than a TBR because, let's be honest, the TBR usually never gets completed. It doesn't usually happen. So maybe a hopefuls will be a little less daunting. You never know. Who knows? You know, like, it is what it is. We're reading books and we're excited about it. So that's really all that matters. A little coffee sip before we get started. So the September wrap up, okay, we have kind of a handful of books. To start out, I read the second volume of Spy Family. I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as volume 1, but it was still very cute and a little palate cleanser after I finished One Italian Summer by Rebecca Surley, which is a little bit of a heavier book, and so I just kind of wanted a little pick-me-up, and it was great. The story is so cute. Anya is adorable, and I just cannot wait to get into more of the story. 4 out of 5 for Spy Family Volume 2. The next book I read in September is one that I loved so much. I gave this a 5 out of 5. It is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and she truly gets me every single time because it's not that I necessarily love the content of the book, because a lot of the time, like especially with Daisy Jones and the Six, like I had such a pit in my stomach the entire time with like all the uncomfortable and heavy things that she was writing about and the characters were going through and dealing with. And the same was with this. It was such a complex and interesting story, and it truly feels like these characters are people living among us, and I am just so impressed every single time I pick up a Taylor Jenkins Reid book. The stories and the complexity that she's able to weave, where it's complex in the way that real life is. Therefore, these characters and the stories and their backstories and the things that they go through and the problems that they're having to face are just so real. Like, it's actually insane. I don't think I've ever read anybody that can do that quite like Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love the Riva kids so much, and I am excited to read more of Taylor Jenkins Reid going forward because this book was just chef's kiss incredible. Next, I read Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton. I actually listened to it via audiobook because it is narrated by him, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I love Harry Potter. I am such a Harry Potter fan, and so to be able to get to know this person that played a character that we love to hate, right? It was just so incredible to get to know Tom Felton's life outside of Harry Potter and after Harry Potter, and it was just really incredible. It was written as if you were sitting down and chatting with a friend and swapping life stories, and I really loved that aspect to it, especially someone who doesn't read really any nonfiction. It is always a little bit intimidating to dabble into a new genre that I'm not super familiar with, but the friendliness of his writing and the openness of his writing and the things that he was willing to share were truly incredible, and the ending of his story was so beautiful and powerful. Absolutely 5 out of 5. Really enjoyed Beyond the Wand. Next, I tackled Six of Crows, okay? And if you guys watched my recent reading vlog, you would know the trepidation that came with this book, okay? I unfortunately did not love it as much as I thought I would. I wound up giving this book a 3 out of 5, and it's not that it was bad writing or even bad characters. It was more just the story that was happening around them. I truly love Kaz and Inej. I really fell in love with their character, as well as Nina. Oh my gosh, I love Nina. And so I would like to proceed to The Crooked Kingdom, the second book in this duology, at some point, because if you've read this book, it leaves off on a pretty big cliffhanger, and so I would like to know what happens eventually, but I'm not super motivated to move on to the second book as of right now. So yeah, 3 out of 5 for Six of Crows. Glad I read it. Curious about the second one, but that's really it. And then Next, I read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. This was my book club book for the month of September, so we are meeting this Friday to talk about it, and I'm really curious to know what the other gals think about this book. I wound up giving it a 3 out of 5. It was very cute. It was very fall vibes. Small town, found family, little coffee shop, small town romance. You know, it has all the vibes, but there were just some aspects of the male main character that I just could not connect with. I did not enjoy him as a character, and that really soured a lot of the book for me. And so overall, I'm glad I read it. It very much got me in the fall mood. It didn't put me in a slump, so not mad at it for that. And then I don't have the book currently with me because I checked it out from the library, but then I read Scythe, which came out of nowhere, okay? This book took me by surprise. I wound up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I read it in 3 days. The first day that I checked it out from the library, I read 250 pages in one day, which is really abnormal for me. Usually the most that I read in a day is like 150 pages maybe. So to sit down and just devour a book like that hasn't happened to me in a very, very long time. And so that was just so, like, I felt so giddy because I was like, oh my gosh, like this book is just really hitting the spot. The book was insane, okay? It really explores some dark themes and some dark things, and it really explores the idea of morality and what it means to be a honorable person. And really it shows that there is so much value in your own mortality, that it brings so much value to your life. And I just thought, you know, I didn't expect this book to be so reflective. I didn't expect this book to hit so hard, and it really did. I absolutely fell in love with the 2 main characters, Citra and Rowan. I am just super curious to see how this whole trilogy wraps up. I'm so thankful to have read Scythe this month. 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. On to the fall hopefuls. I have so many books that I'm so excited for. So the first book that I have on my fall hopefuls TBR is Frankenstein. I think it was last year or the year before I read Carmilla, which is another kind of gothic classic, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and it very much gave me the fall vibes. So I found this adorable copy of Frankenstein in a little library a while back, and I am just so excited to finally dive into this classic book. Next, we have The Inheritance Games. My best friend is either just finished this series or is about to finish this series, and she has had nothing but amazing things to say, and same with everyone else on the internet. And I have owned this book for so long now, and I think it might be the time. It's the vibe, it's the feel, it's kind of mysterious, and I am just super curious about this book. The only thing that I know about it is that this person inherits a bunch of money and the family is kind of mad about it. It gives me Knives Out vibes, and I really enjoyed that movie, so I'm really curious about this. Next is a book that I'm actually so excited about. I have not heard anything about it on like Book Talk or Bookstagram, and it was recommended to me by a local bookstore worker because I was asking them for recommendations that were kind of in the same vein of the Midnight Library, where it's mostly literary fiction with a sprinkle of magic, and they recommended The Golem and the Jinni. Let's read the synopsis really quick because I don't even remember really what it's about. It says, Chava is a golem, a creature of clay brought to life by a strange man who dabbles in dark, Kabbalistic magic. Ahmed is a Jinni, a being of fire born of the ancient Syrian desert, trapped in an old copper flask by a wizard centuries ago. He is released accidentally by a tinsmith in a lower Manhattan shop. Struggling to make their way in 1899 New York, the Golem and the Jinni try to fit in with their immigrant neighbors while masking their true selves. Meeting by chance, they become unlikely friends whose tenuous attachment changes their opposing natures until the night a terrifying incident drives them back into their separate worlds. But a powerful menace will soon bring the Golem and the Jinni together again. So yeah, it just sounds so interesting and like nothing I've really read before. So I am really curious about this. The nature of witches. These witches specifically help maintain the seasons, and it's kind of their story, and there's something that's going wrong, not exactly sure what, and so you know they have to figure out what's going on. I just think it kind of gives off fall vibes, and also the cover is actually incredibly beautiful, so yeah. Next we have my October book club book, which is My Roommate is a Vampire, and I have seen this really circulating around recently. I think because people are really starting to dive into their fall TBRs and fall books. This essentially is about a girl who is kind of down and out, and she winds up finding a really great deal on an apartment, and she takes the person up on it and then realizes it might not have been the best idea. And she has suspicions that her roommate might be a vampire, hence the title. And it just sounds so fun and lighthearted. Next, we have the 5th book in the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I have finished 1 through 4. Now moving on to book 5. This thing is intimidating, okay? So I will probably be reading it on my Kindle, but who knows? I might want to crack open this bad boy. We'll see, but yes, it's time to move on to the next book of the Harry Potter series and finally tackle this tgiant tome of a book. Next, I'm so excited, and this is probably going to be my next read, is Assistant to the Villain. I'm obsessed with this like red and purple. It's such a vibe. And 2, the premise just sounds so interesting that essentially this villain wants an assistant. This woman applies to be the assistant because she really needs a job, and romance ensues from there, and mayhem and all kinds of craziness. So yeah, this book just sounded so interesting and like everything you want for the fall. I don't know, it just sounds so cool. It's so aesthetic. The story sounds amazing, and I think this is probably going to be my next read. I'm so excited to jump into this book. I cannot wait. Next, we have a recurring visitor, one that was on, I think, my August TBR, I believe, is Book of Night by Holly Black. I really want to get to this. It's very much fall vibes. It's an adult fantasy, and it's about a girl named Charlie Hall, and she kind of gets involved with some not good people, and there are these like shadow people, and it's just kind of dark and twisted, and it just sounds so interesting. Not dark in the sense of like bad, but dark in the sense of like shadow manipulators and magicians, and there's sneakiness going around, and there's murder and mayhem, and you know, that kind of thing, that kind of dark, you know? And I'm obsessed with Holly Black, and I love her writing, so I think this is hopefully going to be a good one. Last but certainly not freaking least, we have Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I have had this book for a while now, and I am severely intimidated by it, but it sounds so good. And apparently Stephen King is the author to read during fall spooky season, and I am not into horror, I am not into scary things, so I feel like this is a good happy medium. I've never read a Stephen King book before. The story premise sounds so interesting. Let's see, it says, Charlie Reed looks like a regular high school kid, great at basketball and football, a decent student, but he carries a heavy load. His mom was killed in a hit-and-run accident when he was 7, and grief drove his dad to drink. When Charlie is 17, he meets a dog named Radar and her aging master, Howard Bowditch, a recluse in a big house at the top of the hill with a locked shed in the backyard. Charlie starts doing odd jobs for Mr. Bowditch and loses his heart to Radar. Then, when Mr. Bowditch dies, he leaves Charlie a cassette tape telling a story no one would believe. What Bowditch knows and has kept secret all his long life is that inside the shed is a portal to another world. Yeah, sounds super interesting. I don't know, I really want to try it out and see what I think about this iconic author. This is my, let's see if we can do this. Ooh. This is my fall hopeful TBR, fall hopefuls, fall TBR. Yeah, who knows if I'll actually be able to get to all of them. One can try, okay? Because there are just too many books and not enough time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what books you guys are really looking forward to reading this fall season. I would love to know if there are any that I need to add to the TBR pile, you know, because we all know that it's ever growing. So thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.